Hi, Hammy here. In this next video here, the next segment, we're going to be talking about the first stage of photosynthesis called the light reactions. And we want to go over what happens in the first part that requires light. So if we're requiring light, one of the first things that's going to happen is light is going to come in, and we talk about photons of light. Those are little packets or bundles of, we call them light packets, are going to come in and strike the leaf and excite the pigment that we talked about in a previous video called chlorophyll. Okay, when it hits the chlorophyll, there are enzymes that are going to split apart a water molecule. Okay, so if you look over here, notice that this P680, what we call photosystem 2, this P680, which is green because that's chlorophyll, is going to help absorb light energy. So up here you've got the light coming in, looks like a little lightning bolt. And there's an enzyme that's going to split a molecule of H2O, a molecule of water. Okay, when that molecule is cracked apart, okay, it's going to give off two high energy electrons. And it's going to give off two hydrogen ions. So remember, hydrogen ions are H plus ions. And it's going to give off an oxygen because you have H2O. Okay, but notice that it says O2 there. That's because oxygen is very reactive and will not remain by itself. So sometimes we write it as 1/2 O2. So half of an O2 molecule is an O, oxygen atom. But it will very quickly combine with another oxygen, and most of the time, exists as oxygen gas. The third step, as you can see down here, is kind of where we started with the splitting of water. The next step is to take these two excited electrons, and you see this little blue pathway here. Okay? It's going to go bump, bump, bump from molecule to molecule, kind of be passed down what we call the electron transport chain, or oftentimes ETC for short. And just think of it as like a hot potato. You take it, you take it, you take it. Okay? And as they move from molecule to molecule, these little proteins embedded in the thylakoid membrane, okay, the energy is going to be lost, and that energy is going to be used to pump hydrogens, okay, into the thylakoid space, or down here it's labeled as lumen, okay, this space in here. So out here you see an H plus ion, okay, and it's going to be transported inside of here. So as the electrons, as water's being split, the electrons, high energy, that energy from the electrons are going to be used to pump a whole bunch of H plus ions into the thylakoid space. Okay, once they reach photosystem 1, PS1 over here, this next, notice it's green, oftentimes called the P700 center. You have light coming in again and striking it. It's going to re-energize that electron, and it's going to be picked up by our little electron dump truck called NADP+. Okay? NADP is going to pick up the electron and get changed into NADPH. Okay, step 6 is all these hydrogen ions that are now accumulated in this thylakoid space. Remember that thylakoid is that little pancakey thing in the chloroplast. Okay, inside of there is going to be all these H plus ions. Okay, a whole bunch of, remember, opposites attract. So these are plus, 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 plus. These pluses don't all like being crammed in there. And so you have a high concentration of a chemical hydrogen ion. So that's where we get the term chemiosmotic gradient. Okay, chemi from chemical, osmotic, high concentration, low concentration. So they don't like being in here. Their escape route is this little turbine-looking thing here called ATP synthase. Okay, as the electrons, or as the hydrogens escape through the ATP synthase, this ATP synthase is going to spin, and it's going to say what we call phosphorylate. It's going to add a phosphate group to ADP, recharging it into ATP. Okay? So as the hydrogens escape, it's going to spin the ATP synthase and make ADP into high energy ATP. Okay? So kind of a summary, energy from light has been stored. Okay? Light coming in. It's going to break apart water. It's going to be stored in the chemical bonds of a high energy electron carrier called NADPH, and just an energy carrier, energy dump truck we call ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So light energy has been converted to potential energy in the form of chemical energy. Okay, one last slide here that's kind of an overview that's showing the whole process together, kind of just a different form. So we start out with light coming in here on the left, hitting photosystem 2, which is splitting apart the water molecules into oxygen and hydrogen ions. Okay, here you can see the electrons getting split off. This is all happening in the thylakoid membrane. And then here is our ETC, our electron transport chain. These electrons are being passed, okay, kind of down through the chain here. Okay, as that happens, notice what happens. You've got hydrogen ions on the outside being pumped into this space. Into this space when the electrons get to the end. Okay, photosystem 1, PS1, is down here. Here comes light. It's going to re-excite the electrons. They're going to be picked up by NADP plus and turned into NADPH. Okay, meanwhile, all of these hydrogen ions here, okay, are going to escape through ATP synthase. Okay, this is going to be ATP synthase over here. They're going to escape, causing it to spin, and it's going to turn ADP and a phosphate into a high energy ATP. Okay, so we've again turned light energy into high energy electrons and energy in the form of ATP that our cells can use. Okay, hope this helps sort of understand the light reactions. Next video we'll move on to how these high energy electrons and energy are changed into glucose in the plant.